I think we take it for granted sometimes just how confusing the English language really can be. I look at it not just as a teacher, but also the fact that my husband is ESL. He's English as a second language because he's German. My girls are bilingual, and I grew up speaking Australian English, which, yes, is different to American English. And there are so many little nuances in English that it's just really confusing. So it makes you wonder, how do we ever learn how to read? Now, it's really important to me to set my girls up for success with reading. Actually, for every child, I want to see them successful readers. We do need to be able to read. And there are some different programs and styles and methods out there to teach how to read, but I am a firm fan favorite of phonics, and that's what I want to look at today. Hi, and welcome to Learning Life. Thank you so much for joining us today as we are looking at phonics and why it's important. Now, I love getting feedback from you, so drop me a message and say hello and give me your thoughts. And if you like these videos, give a thumbs up and subscribe. Click that bell so that you get notified when new videos are coming out. Well, the English language, you would think 26 letters. Oh, easy. It's great. Well, let's look at it just a little bit more. 26 letters, about 44 different sort of letter consonant sounds. Then there's 20 vowel sounds. Getting confused yet? Don't forget then that we have things like Y. Is it a vowel or is it a consonant? We teach that it's a consonant, but really it's used more as a vowel. What are we doing? Where do we start? And there are so many rules that we teach that actually have more non-examples. That means, the exceptions to the rule than there actually are examples of the rule. For example, I learned I before E except after C. That's a bit of a weird rule to be teaching because there are more non-examples. I before E except after C, right? Let's read this. I before E, except when your foreign neighbor Keith receives 8 counterfeit beige sleighs from feisty caffeinated weightlifters. Weird. And then we have letters like O-U-G-H. 4 letters, okay? Now let's think about some words that have O-U-G-H. We have though, through, thorough, thought, tough, trough, bow. Let's listen to those sounds. O, ooh, ah, or, uff, off, ow. 7 ways of pronouncing those same 4 letters. English, it is just a little confusing. Don't forget, there's idioms, there's contronyms, there's different stress changes the meaning of the word, there's silent letters. How are we learning how to read? How? Well, we start with a good, solid foundation. That is how we learn how to read. And so for me, phonics is that way to really set those good building blocks. It really is the most popular and commonly used method for teaching beginning reading. There is another one that has sort of come in and out, and over the years, maybe we incorporate different parts, and that is whole language. I'll cover that in a moment. But phonics, which funnily enough, phonetic is not spelled phonetically. But anyhow, I digress. But let's look. Phonics, what is it? It is the sounds of the letters. And, when we blend them together, we can decode the word. We often hear the sound it out. I know I say that a lot to my girls when they look at a word and they're like, Mommy, what is it? Sound it out. Done that with all the kids that I teach. Sound it out. Let's see if we can sound it out first so that we can decode that word. It's important to have that good strength in decoding. Now, yes, I know that it doesn't work all the time, but this is about giving a good, solid foundation for building up, for reading. It's shown that kids actually struggle to read when there's not phonics in schools. We need to have that. And by 3rd grade, if a kid is not a good reader, if they're still a poor reader, they are most likely to stay that way. That's heartbreaking to me. It makes me sad that we have some poor readers out there who are maybe not getting it, and maybe with some extra help, we could really get them there. I love reading. If I couldn't read, you may as well just cut off my limbs. That's what it's like. It is part of me. It is like breathing. And so I love seeing children being set up for success when it comes to reading. And to me, the best thing that we can do for that is phonics. Let's look quickly at whole language. So this is the other method, and we've brought it into schools for a while, and then we've pulled it out. Now, whole language is when you're looking at the words as a whole. This really builds up on visual memory. That this is where the sight words come in. And I know that we teach sight words, and I do believe in them. I believe in the sight words for those that, doesn't always work when we are sounding it out. That these are just common frequency words. It is good to know. That's what the sight words should be for. I think that it can miss the mark. Yes, we're doing a lot of repetition with these words until we remember it. Think of like the Dick and Jane books, which actually one of my daughters really loves. But it's a lot of repetition of the words until you've just got that visual memory of it. So this can be tough, and you can have a child with a great visual memory when they are young, but that might run out. What happens when they're coming across words they don't know and they're not really sure how it looks because they haven't come across it before? Can they draw from their visual memory of other words? It gets a little bit sort of iffy. And you can decode from pictures, but that doesn't always work because there's not always pictures. And there might be, a couple of animals, but what is the animal that the word is referring to? We don't know. So whole language for me really does have some flaws. It is not truly teaching decoding. It's just repetition, sight, visual memory, and at some point that's going to fail you. But this is where I come back that we really need phonics when we are starting to teach how to read. Now, we should have had a lot of groundwork before then. We should be reading to our children from when they are babies. Use tummy time, just read. And I'm not talking about, we don't just have to be reading the A apple, B ball, C cat books. No, just read some of your books that you enjoy just so that they are hearing the language. Teaching them the conventions of reading. And what are those? Well, that we read from right to left. We read from the front of the book to the back of the book. We start at the top of the page and we come down. This is how we do it. We flow. And of course, we are introducing rich language, which is always important. We're not going to always just be reading our children very simple primer sort of books, those simple words. We are going to build up so they're getting that language. And when we have that and we've set that good foundation, then it really is easy to incorporate phonics at home. And this is really going from the letter name to the sounds that they can make. And I do this with the girls all the time. We make it a bit of a game. And so we'll see a letter and be like, okay, so what letter is that? It's a K. Great. What sound does it make? K. All right. Can you think of any words that start with K or maybe have K in it? And this also leads into other things like that the K sound could also come from C, like as in cat. Or my name is Michaela with a CH. CH can make a K sound. But we just build on that and we talk about that and we come up with these words. And really that's what phonics is. And it's helping them to sound out. We then have word families. This is always good. So you teach them things like at. We put that together. And now let's put things at the beginning, a letter at the beginning. So we have pat, cat, sat, mat, fat. So we're building up these word families. And so they're learning how to put those sounds together to help decode the words. Again, I understand not every word can be sounded out. We've got French influence. We've got all these other influences with our words. But at this beginning stage, phonics gives such a good, solid foundation. And I love that we have programs like ABC Mouse or Kids Phonics that really give us some good, rich games and activities that help our children to build upon this and to these building blocks. I really can't stress enough. I am a firm believer in phonics with sight words. I love watching my girls sort of explore all of this. Yes, we're a little bit more organic in how we're learning. We just read lots of books. We just sort of pick it up. I haven't really sat down and done formal lessons, but I'm watching them read. Now, I teach English to Chinese children online, and my girls love coming and seeing what the lessons are, and I enjoy them seeing what these lessons are as well. And there was one day I was looking, previewing one lesson, and Kira comes up next to me. And she reads the sentence. And the last word in the sentence was marathon. And she reads perfectly and she goes, marathon. And I'm like, how did you know that word was marathon? That's not a word. And she goes, oh, I sounded it out. I'm like, well, duh, Mum. And I'm like, okay, this is great. She's getting that decoding. And then, she could see from the picture, well, they're running. So a marathon has to do with running. Like, that is great. And I love that. And in this, like, I'm watching, they love now going and picking up books, and I'm hearing them like in their room really trying to decode those words. It is helpful if we've read it before, but this is happening and they're getting that good solid foundation. I also love that the more I'm looking like into German, there's a lot of like phonetic and good solid rules. So we can do that same sort of phonetic approach as we incorporate lessons in learning how to read German for the girls. Like, to me, that's just exciting. Actually, funny story against me. When I was at university, I was doing teaching prac, and I had to go from there to my other job working in a bookstore, and a customer had asked for a particular book. And I'm like, yes, it's over there in the biography section under D. I smiled, and he just looked at me, and I'm like, D, it's under D. And he chuckled, and all my staff mates chuckled. And I'm like, sorry, it is just so easy for me to switch into phonics. Let's set our children up for success. Let's have some fun with it and really just enjoy these sounds and these building blocks and the decoding, and just really setting our kids up for success. Well, thank you so much for watching today. And if you enjoy these videos, can I invite you to maybe join us through Patreon as one of our champions, so that we can be getting more videos out to the community and that you can become part of our learning life. Thank you for watching.